Alright, so it's been a couple of days. It's time for me to start recording my next theory, which means I need to go through your guys' comments and see which ones have the most upvotes. Now, I said in my last video that I would pick the one with the most upvotes that I thought I could get a full video out of. That was kind of my out, in case the most popular comment was something that I just couldn't make a video on. It's just not possible to do an entire video on the topic. But I promise, just so long as it's something that I have enough material for, I will do the video, no matter what the comment is. Alright, let's take a look at some of these. Here's one that's gotten a few upvotes. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good suggestion, but I already have plans to talk about something really similar to this later on. Besides, there are ones that have more upvotes than that, so let's see. Here's one. Yeah, not a bad suggestion, but some stuff that the crew was saying recently kind of disproves this, and some of my own ideas. Turns out it was just a completed colony that they decided to abandon after they completed it. Once there weren't really any more resources to be taken from it, they just up and left. Kind of disappointing, but there you go. Let's see. Ooh, this has quite a few more than the last one. The 4 temperaments thing. Yeah, now that we've actually gotten 3 of the 4, I've actually been planning to talk about this too, so I'm going to wait on this one as well. Let's see. Let's just skip to the one with the most upvotes overall. Here it is. Really? 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 What do I look like? Ronaldo? Oh, yeah. I guess I kind of do. I guess I could do the 4 temperaments thing. Man, I'm just not ready to do that one yet. The Sneeple thing, though, the evidence is all there. I don't believe it, but the evidence is all there. I guess that settles it then. I have no choice but to embrace my inner Ronaldo and talk about Homeworld's other war. There is a theory that has been running rampant in the Steven Universe fandom for years, that a second alien species makes its home, at least in part, on Earth. Sort of the gems if they were more secretive about what they're doing and if their plans were more shady and nefarious than outwardly harmful. Sort of a space Illuminati, if you will. These Sneeple will come to a planet and wear the skins of its people, infiltrating whichever species is dominant. They will, from the background, build a power structure, gain control of that species' society, and then sit in the lap of luxury and live out their existence with effectively an entire species serving them that doesn't even realize that they're doing so. Originally, this theory was supported by nothing more than Ronaldo himself. Because, despite how crazy and how generally illogical Ronaldo has been shown in the series, pretty much everything that he says has some truth to it. And while you can just read his ranting about the Sneeple as a misunderstanding of the gems, of their role in human history, it's different enough that the argument can be made that it was the crew hinting at something else. Besides, he gives his gem theory later in the same episode at the very end. It's actually pretty on the nose. So if they're 2 separate theories, then that could mean they're 2 separate species. Now, there are certain versions of this theory that try to make out characters like Onion to be Sneeple just because they don't talk or they act weird. I'm not going to talk about those so much. Onion, I feel, is coded as someone with autism, and I don't think that's fair to people with autism to make it out as if they have to be aliens in order to explain their behavior. Instead, I'm going to talk about evidence from the Homeworld side. Because think about this for a second. If the Sneeple infiltrate a species and then attempt to set themselves up as the leadership of that species, even if it is in secret, if they tried to do so with gems, which honestly wouldn't be all that difficult, as they could kind of mass-produce disguises really, since so many gems look exactly the same, it would put them in direct opposition with the leadership of Homeworld, and that is the diamonds. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if this even ends up relating back to why Pink Diamond was killed. Maybe her abject failure to form an Earth colony got one of the other diamonds thinking that maybe she wasn't actually a gem, maybe she was a Sneeple in disguise. Maybe that's even why she was so different from the others. And so one of the other diamonds ended up helping set up Pink Diamond to be killed by Rose. If she survived having her gem shattered, then she's definitely a Sneeple. If she doesn't, she's a gem, but she's a failure as a gem, so it doesn't matter. It could even explain why White Diamond hasn't been seen yet. How long has White Diamond been acting from behind the scenes like this? What if she's already been replaced? What if the other diamonds even suspect it, but they're too afraid to say anything because having a rebellion in such recent history, at least from the perspective of Gems, means that should they accuse White Diamond of being anything other than White Diamond, they will be painted as rebels and killed. Maybe that's even what the Sneeple that replaced White Diamond is banking on. After all, they are supposed to be geniuses, politically speaking. This is exactly the kind of thing that they would cook up, using tensions between members of another race to control them. That is just, it's a very Sneeple thing to do. And then the existence of Sneeple, and especially a conflict going on between Homeworld and Sneeple, or at least one that Homeworld suspects will eventually come between their two species, explains some of Homeworld's behavior. At one point, Jasper makes an offhanded remark, the first war for this garbage planet, referring to Earth. And while this could just mean that she's anticipating another war, or that there might have even been a lull between conflicts, and that the one gem war that we've been hearing about is historically considered to be more than one war, by Homeworld's side at least, it could also mean that there was another war. Maybe at about the same time as Rose's Rebellion, or during Rose's Rebellion, Sneeple tried to make a play for Earth as well. Homeworld ended up having to fight on two fronts. It's unclear how this would have turned out, but there is some evidence of Sneeple on Earth, so it's likely that even if Homeworld thinks they won that conflict, the Sneeple still made it here, and still took some semblance of power. Then there's the cluster. Yellow Diamond wants the cluster, desperately. Whether as a weapon in and of itself, or as a proof of concept that such a weapon can be created, we don't really know, and it doesn't really matter in terms of this theory. She desperately wants the cluster, I think, because she plans to use it as a weapon against the Sneeple. And I think the reason that she's developing it herself, why it seems like only her court is involved in its development, is because she does suspect White Diamond of being a Sneeple. And this is why I think it's particularly Sneeple that she is either fighting against or intending to fight against. Maybe the other Diamond's courts don't even know about it, and maybe that's by design. Maybe, if it does turn out that White Diamond is a Sneeple agent, Yellow Diamond intends to use the cluster against her. It's also possible that the reason that she seems mostly involved in this is because she's the Diamond in charge of the military, and the cluster would be a military asset, but that doesn't automatically invalidate the other option. And if we consider that Yellow Diamond is the military expert among the Diamonds, it would make sense for her to do this, to hedge her bets in this way. Maybe she could already oppose White and her forces, but if she has a being larger than a planet on her side, fighting for her, maybe even more than one, that would certainly increase her odds of winning, wouldn't it? But then I think the most compelling evidence for the existence of Sneeple is actually Rose's victory itself. Rose and her crystal gems obviously had some things that Homeworld didn't. Rose was obviously okay with gems who weren't made to fight getting involved in fights. Rose obviously saw the benefit in cross-gem fusions, but Homeworld still would have had overwhelmingly greater resources than Rose and her army. It's been pretty well accepted that Rose must have had some sort of assistance in reaching Pink Diamond in order to kill her. What if it wasn't one of the Diamonds, but in fact the Sneeple who helped Rose behind the scenes not only to kill Pink Diamond, but to win the war, manipulated things, so that not even Rose knew of their involvement? It would actually make sense if they wanted to rule the Earth in secret. Obviously, that would be impossible if the gems remained and continued to develop their colony. It would be in the best interests of the Sneeple to assist Rose's rebellion in driving Homeworld away. It may even explain why now governments of the world don't seem concerned with gems, and in fact seem to actively avoid getting in their way, because the Sneeple make sure that that's how it is. At the end of the day, there is a kernel of truth in almost everything that Ronaldo says. At the end of the day, there are small details on Earth which suggest that the Sneeple are real. The inclusion of the Join or Die cartoon on Money in Steven Universe being just one of many. So at the end of the day, it is likely that this theory in some form is going to turn out to be true. As much as I personally don't like it, it really does seem plausible. But as per usual, guys, I'd like to know, what do you think of this theory? Have I managed to draw the truth out from the shadows, or have I left myself wrapped in a coil of deceit? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord. Link in the description. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.